Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
Yep.
And Mrs. Chen.
Oh, okay. So, with Daniel spoiling a little bit, what we're going to be talking about, we're stepping away from the Universal Monster movie series for a little bit, and we're coming back to Venom because Venom: The Last Dance has just come out into the theaters to mixed reviews, much like its predecessors. Now, with all that being said, I just want to point out real quick that this is, I think, the first movie we've seen together in the theater since like Fast X. I think I know you guys watched Godzilla vs Kong or Godzilla X Kong together, but I think this is the
Oh
first one
yeah.
where all three of us were together in a while. And I'll just start off by saying that I thought the movie was incredibly boring. I nearly fell asleep. I kept on checking my phone because I was trying to see what time it was. Craig, what did you think?
I also was bored out of my mind.
I know, I could tell. I looked over and you just looked frustrated. You had the classic, your left hand was by your face.
Yeah, I was like leaning, just like trying. Yeah, I was very just bored out of my mind.
I thought you were falling asleep.
No, usually I don't fall asleep in movies. They bore me. It should put me to sleep, but usually if it's brand new, I tend to stay up.
What
But
a
yeah, I
warrior
wish I
you
fell
were.
asleep.
Yeah. Dan, did you fall asleep?
No, I didn't. I found myself like I kind of would like lean my head back, and there were times I was like I could fall asleep. I was getting tired, so I kept adjusting a bit. Um, but I did find myself getting tired, though. I didn't fall asleep though.
I don't even know
But
where
no,
to start with this thing. Um, well, I guess let's start with positives before I guess we could talk a little bit about the plot. I guess the positives are really just some of the banter between Eddie and Venom, and I only say some of it. Other than that, I think it's a mostly forgettable film, and I think Venom 2 is, I know you guys are lukewarm to Venom 2, but I thought Venom 2 was like leagues better than this thing.
I
I
mean, I,
mean
I guess.
it's better. Uh, but I think that one didn't feel. I feel like this one felt like a mess, and oddly enough, I know it's not like none of these movies are long, but this one,
It felt the
um,
longest, right?
y- well, I was gonna say none of them are long, but this one almost felt rushed. I don't know, like nothing felt like properly like set up, or like nothing. I don't know. The I don't know. It felt like especially with like Null and like they threw in that girl's backstory.
Oh yes. Oh,
They threw in Venom. They also threw in that like random. I don't know. It felt like I would say this one was like a mess. Like there was a lot of elements that they just didn't like. They didn't like. It just felt rushed. Like everything was just like kept thrown in together, and like you're supposed to feel like for Eddie and Venom's relationship. Like at the end, I don't. It felt like a mess. Like there was, I don't know.
so I was gonna quickly say, obviously to anyone listening, there are spoilers. And secondly, the girl who her brother got struck by lightning, whatever her name was, let me see, Teddy Payne, the doctor for Imperium. My goodness, wait, was it her brother? Yeah, it was. It was. My goodness, was she just absolutely terrible in this movie? Her acting was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was wooden. It was about every like it's just like picturing a bad performance in your head, and it's stiff wooden acting. She delivered dialogue in such an awkward and clunky way. I remember I said to you, Dan, I'm like, oh my god, she is horrible.
But I think I like. Yeah, I think I turned over and said something to you. I was like, I mentioned something about like this whole like stupid backstory. You're like, yeah, she's horrible.
But no one cares.
Yeah, I guess, Colin. The my one positive, I'd say the one scene that was enjoyable was the Vegas scene.
Oh yeah. Well,
Was
that was like the going with what I said, the Venom and Eddie interaction where they just knock that guy
yeah,
out. That guy's peeing on the dogs, you know.
yeah,
Oh
and
yeah, then the whole dance scene with Mrs. Chen.
yeah. When they brought in Mrs. Chen, that was the highlight of the film.
Again, also, it wasn't the best scene, but Venom dancing just looks so weird.
That's why I started to laugh because it looked so out of place. Like I don't think they did it well, but it was kind of funny at the same time.
Yeah, that was probably not probably that was the best part. Um, I don't know if anything else is like really really enjoyable because them bringing in all these assembling this random army of symbiotes just to like kill them all off. Like
Well, the most shocking thing was that Venom 2 set up Patrick
Toxin.
Mulligan as Toxin, and he dies almost immediately. Or at least he dies like halfway through the movie, but he's barely shown up until that point.
And they also too didn't even do his like they didn't even resemble his comic book character. Like like I told you to look up Toxin like after the movie. I was like, yeah, that's what he looks like in the comics, where he's like red,
Like the
with
Scarlet
blue.
Spider.
Yeah, he looks a blend between Carnage and Venom. And then this, he was like he
He's
was like a
green.
yeah. His body almost looked like Medusa from like Clash of the Titans. It was like that snake body and everything. Yeah, and he was green. I don't. And then he dies like a punk. Like he's talking to the humans, and then he's like, oh, like the whatever those things were called that Null sent. Um, he's like, I'll hold him off, and just gets eaten and shredded. Just
Immediately.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the most disappointing thing for this movie is in terms of it was based, I don't know how much it was based off of, but it introduces Null, who is the symbiote god in the comics, and he has, one of the I think more popular recent storylines in Marvel was called The King in Black, where he attempts to invade Earth. And I think the major problem for this movie is introducing a character like him and just having it based on the symbiote trying to stop him, when in the comics it took the combined forces of different factions on Earth, like the event, like Thor shows up, they have the Avengers there, they have Storm there, they have, Namor and Atlantis there. Like, I don't know, it kind of downplays Null when you just have the symbiotes uniting to stop him. I don't know. It,
Well, there's also the fact too that I guess talking about spoilers, they're saying that Null is going to appear again in other movies, and if you're like I say, you're saying how powerful he is. Well, who's going to beat him? Madam Web in Venom.
the biggest, I think,
Oh, I
like,
forgot about Craven.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the trio of
I can't
Craven.
wait till that episode.
and the rhino. But and the biggest thing too in this movie, like, so the whole plot is that for some, Null was always the symbiotes a long time ago united to stop Null, because he was bad, and they locked him away on this planet. He's in prison, whatever, and Venom has a codex in him that can that if Null retrieves, that he sends like his like army after, which he just has an army with him for whatever reason. And Venom has this codex that, as long as him and his host are alive, the codex is activated.
Well, Daniel, let me just stop you right there. The codex is activated when a host of his symbiote dies and is resuscitated. That's how the codex got on Venom.
And I want to
Yeah.
also bring this other part up too. So in the movie, they said they've been together for a year at this point in time. So they've had the Codex for about a year now, and only now they get attacked by Null and his creatures.
Uh, and and
It makes no
so
sense. Know what I'm saying.
and it only activates when the symbiote is fully comes out on the host. So
Yes.
when they switch back and forth, or if it's just Eddie, or if Venom, like he just pulls his, he's not fully out, the codex doesn't work, and the creatures can't detect it. They're only designed; they can only see the codex when it's fully activated, which that just seems like a
Quite the
flaw.
design flaw.
But yeah, um, and for some reason, Venom is the only one that's carrying it. Um, and so, even though that we see other symbiotes have successfully bonded with their host, especially at the end, and then Toxin and Carnage, um, and Venom and the host have to stay alive. So if one of them dies, the Codex gets destroyed. And I guess that's the major spoiler at the end. But
Well, not really.
well, Venom dies.
Well, not really.
Well, yeah, obviously. Well, they lead you to believe that Venom dies, and then you know, so then it's like, oh, the Codex goes away, but then there's the credit scene at the end where he's not really dead, but
No
so,
one's ever really gone.
but the whole thing is that the Codex dies, right? And then the first mid credit scene is that Null is like, oh, I'm coming for Earth, like the king, they tease the King in Black, and it's like, but you just killed, because I think the dialogue said was like, oh, your champion is dead. I'm coming for Earth, and they show Null like again, and it's like, but you needed Venom to live to
But
be
is the
free.
codex really gone though? Because another part of Venom was still alive and attached itself to a cockroach. Now, granted, we should say that we knew there was one. I looked it up right as the credits were rolling. I didn't know there were two end credit scenes, and the second one was a black cockroach crawling from the rubble, which turns out to be Venom because they got a sample of Venom from the bar earlier in the movie when they questioned that guy who got harassed by Venom and Eddie.
But the problem is, though, is that he's going to have to rebond. So, but it's only if the host dies does the codex activate, right? So if he rebonds with Eddie, does that mean the codex is always going to be activated then? If he
I think
rebonds
so.
with Eddie?
I
I would
think
assume so.
it would make more sense if Venom died entirely, because then, by the logic of by the movie's own logic, it would be gone forever. But having a piece of Venom still intact is just the same thing happening all over again, where he has the Codex. Unless you say to me that they were experimenting on the vial that was in Area 51 underneath, what was it called, Area 54 or something underneath
55.
55, whatever, and they got the codex out or something. I don't know, but it's just like a giant loop that they just found themselves in.
And I want to do like disclaimer for us. I get it. This is a Venom movie. It's not meant to be deep, but this is a serious flaw or loop, like you just said. It's something that could have easily been just they could have tweaked it a little bit, just make it simpler.
Because it's
But
not like we're overthinking it. We're just using the movie's own logic. It's like, not to bring up Endgame, but we talked about how in our first episode how terrible the time travel is in that movie, because they set up rules and then they blatantly ignore them.
yeah, especially when the codex is the main driving force of this movie. Like you have to get that right. But it was just, it was weird. And then, but they didn't explain why Venom is the only one that has it. When oh wait, so it's because his host died,
Because
right?
the host died and the symbiote brought
Yeah.
him back.
All right,
So
but
by that logic, couldn't they just capture any symbiote and then just kill the host and make the symbiote bring him back to life? You could farm those people.
Yeah, I mean, they could.
Unless somebody who watches this and writes in the comments that we're completely wrong about, the how and why with the codex. I'd love to hear it, but
yeah,
I think
if this
that's
is
what it was.
I don't think they thought it through all that well.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. Like, and this is where I feel like it was like a mess, because they have this idea, and they don't. It's like your main idea, and you don't properly explain it. They kind of like glossed over it and just kept moving. And uh, and then like also like the symbiotes. Another thing that did not make any sense to me was they established like symbiotes, are kind of in the comics and also in the movies, especially with the last one with Carnage just wanting to kill Venom immediately. It's established like symbiotes don't care for each other. They kind of, and Riot also like wanted to kill Venom too. Like, so I don't know why all of a sudden the symbiotes like rally behind Venom, like, oh, we'll protect you, get out of here. Like, wouldn't the symbiotes who locked Null away, wouldn't they just kill Venom
Well,
immediately?
including that, but also in the first movie, Venom says he relates to Eddie because they're both losers. He said he was a loser on his own little symbiote world. So why would they even care about Venom? They'd be like,
Also,
yeah, eat him, do whatever you want to him, open him up like a mailbox, whatever.
well, that's what I was thinking about too when the general Mr. Military guy came in and wanted to kill Eddie immediately, saying the only thing that stops the alien invasion is killing Eddie Brock. Yeah, I'll make that. I'll make that choice. And he's supposed to be the bad guy or whatever, but I think that was easily the.
He's not
I
afraid
can
to
see
get
why
his
you'd
hands
make that
dirty.
choice.
Yeah, and also too like the fact that the only times Venom got tracked was just him being an idiot and coming out like where he was like, no, I want to dance with Mrs. Chen, even though you're being hunted down by these things.
And mind you,
Or
Venom can also, as you said earlier, Daniel, Venom can also appear over Eddie's shoulder like a bird. Doesn't have to be in his full form to interact with Eddie.
yeah. Oh yeah, because we've seen all his like he can send out his tentacles and stuff and just do all these things. So like he doesn't need to fully come out. Or and also too they established later in the movie that those creatures can use like sonic sounds to bring out the symbiote, but they weren't using them the whole time.
Yeah, those creatures are very inefficient because Venom could be right in
Like
front of
they
him.
were scary in the
and
sense
then
like
he would just hide, and then it'd be like, oh, where'd it go? Very
yeah.
inefficient killing machines.
I think it would have been a better design if they were able to always detect the symbiote within the host. Like if they just that the codex was always activated because that the host had come back, so it's always just going off because they're always bonded regardless. The fact that the symbiote has to fully come out for them to activate and see the codex doesn't make sense when the whole thing about the codex it's contingent on the host dying and coming back.
It just makes Venom look like a baffling idiot for refusing to listen to Eddie. Because I think even Eddie had a couple of lines where he said, like, what are you doing? Just don't come out.
What was the whole thing with Mrs. Chen? And he's like, "Oh my God, the thing found us." And it's like, "Yeah, we knew he would find you."
Yeah, especially as soon as that thing activates, these things can jump like miles too. The thing came in like a torpedo at the hotel that they were in. Yeah,
I mean, I guess in the
and
context of the movies, those things were not scary, but they definitely were intimidating because it got to the point at the end where it was just eating all of the symbiotes.
I did think that was funny. Like it would just eat in the symbiote just gets shredded out the back of the head,
Yeah, it's like a wood chipper.
and like they couldn't die. Like they could get like shredded and everything, and they just reassemble themselves. Like I thought the creatures were cool and like how they were just straight on a mission, vicious and whatever, but they were just their design was just flawed, like heavily flawed. Uh, and but I think one of the worst offenders in this movie is that stupid scientist trope of, oh, we got to preserve these creatures, they're beautiful, like that when they're hunting Venom and like Craig was saying, generic military guy is like, no, we need to kill him. Like this is about protecting Earth. Like we're killing him. No, they're beautiful creatures. Like and all this stuff. It's like I hate that. Like come on, logically, it's like there's also a lot of other symbiotes. If they're just coming for Eddie, you have all these other symbiotes to study. Kill him. Like it's
See, I
just,
never understand when people choose aliens over humans. I mean, are you trying to get the entire species murdered? I don't understand when people choose. I mean, literally, aliens on another planet over your fellow man. I'll never understand it. I said before, I'm
or woman,
pro-human.
Craig. These were two women scientists.
I'm pro-human. I'll never pick an alien over humanity. I'll
Not even
just
E.T.
no. I mean, I'll beat that thing with the baseball bat if I had to.
Craig chooses violence every time.
I just don't understand, like this,
But
like you said,
yeah,
when they're
and
like, "Oh, it's a beautiful new creature." Well, guess what? It's gonna be us or them. I'm not choosing a bunch of aliens.
first off, you can say the symbiotes are cool, but they are not beautiful. These things are like sludge. They like take over their host. Like they
They're
don't look
violent.
beautiful. I mean, they if they don't bond properly, they like eat the the insides of a person essentially.
Yeah, don't they
But and
need
then
like
that
any
one
aliens to eat
girl,
brains?
Yeah, they have to mutilate
well, yeah, if
people to
Eddie, yeah,
survive.
because yeah, and Eddie in the first movie, Venom said to Eddie like when Eddie was not feeding him, he was like, "Oh, your intestine." He's like, your lungs, like they all look good." I'm like, that's not really beautiful. I get it; they need to survive, but they're not necessarily beautiful. But yeah, and then that other scientist lady was inexplicably like obsessed with getting a symbiote for some reason. Like she kept like for no reason she just bonded with Venom for
I
no
don't
reason. Like she,
understand how these aliens are, probably highly classified under highly controlled circumstances, and I don't know why they let her collect samples and keep it at her desk. I mean, they don't understand like any sort of basic security measures. I mean, you never allow anybody to keep anything that sensitive at your desk out in the open. I don't care that it's underground. Gotta keep that stuff locked up.
especially in the first two movies
It's evidence, son.
Yeah, it's
when
evidence,
Venom is
son.
shown to be the when Venom is shown to be the most tame, when he's the only successful bonded symbiote that like hasn't tried to just kill or invade the Earth. Because what Riot was trying to get the rocket ship right to go get more symbiotes to come back and invade. Carnage just
I just want to kill Eddie Brock and
yeah.
Venom.
But he was going on a bit of a rampage in the city. Like so these things aren't
Carnage, could you
friendly.
say?
Yeah, I didn't want to go there, but
Yeah, I know. I had
um,
to.
Uh,
Yeah, boo me all you want.
it's especially when you have Toxin who's successfully bonded, you have him contained, and you're talking with him. Like you don't need to necessarily preserve Eddie.
yeah, but
I
still,
don't
you
know.
can keep the Venom
It,
symbiote. You can just shoot Eddie in the head and be done with him. If only he was worth anything.
Yeah, he's just some sweaty weirdo.
Some sweaty
Again, he had
journalist.
the sweat stain by the collar of his shirt the whole movie. Even when he was underwater, it's shocking. It's just like they make him look like the most disgusting protagonist out there.
well, I remember turning to Craig first. I go, "Oh my God, he's sweating." Craig goes, it's gross. You can just see that stain." And I turned to you to say it, and you go, "He just looks like a homeless guy, especially the way he like walks too." Like,
I mean, literally in Vegas, he's walking around with the dogs out because he had no shoes.
But yeah, he lost his Crocs
the,
in the
the,
beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah, that was like a running
well, yeah,
joke.
they
He
kept
kept
making
losing
it.
his shoe.
Did they consult Dan Schneider for that?
I mean, it's one of those jokes where it's
Yeah.
barely funny the first time, and they keep like pushing your face. It's like just because he doesn't have it. I mean, yeah, not having a shoe is not fun, but you'll live. I mean, you can have Venom
Yeah.
just be a boot for him, right?
And,
Yeah,
and then
true. True.
the movie starts off with that scientist lady's backstory of her brother getting struck by lightning, and then she has the scar from it, and her right arm isn't working properly, and he says that line. What did he say? It's like if you hear thunder, like
I
run.
couldn't
It
even
was
tell you.
essentially just they were trying to sound cool, but it's if you hear thunder, run. Like run indoors. You mean like what everyone else says? If there's lightning outside, get inside.
Oh, I think so. I looked it up. When thunder roars, go indoors. Is that it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
We
but they try
saw
to
this a
make it
couple
like,
days ago. I honestly don't
but
remember.
I had
but
to
they try
reread
to
the wiki.
but they but they tried to make it like pawn it off as it was this like deep life message. It was just what you're taught. He could have said something as simple as like if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. and they would have like tried to pawn it off as like this like you know uh motivating message. He was just
Yeah,
telling
to
her
throw
they
up,
were
make
on a
sure it gets in the toilet.
let's lay on a beach when there's a thunderstorm. Like what?
Let's
Remember,
put
licking
on
doorknobs
our
illegal on other
metal
planets.
enchainment,
Yeah, let's
outfit.
let's get 6 foot long lacrosse poles and hold them up to the sky
And lick them.
when there's lightning outside. Yeah,
Go in the middle of a field
yeah.
too while you're at it.
And then like she's trying to like be the like my this is what my brother wanted. I need to do this, and it's just like it doesn't really pay off in the
Who
end.
cares?
Yeah, like why don't you dive more into Eddie's backstory when he's the main character and he's already established? Like, why give this useless backstory to this random lady who then at the end bonds with a symbiote? I think you said Craig looked like Shriek, which I
I
don't
made the mistake again. It's Scream.
scream. And she bonds with this. Apparently Eddie's not unique because everyone in the end just can bond with symbiotes. Apparently,
Even that fat security guard got a symbiote.
he got like jacked. Yeah, and then the scientist lady, she bonds with another symbiote after bonding with Venom. And just this whole army unites of symbiotes to stop these things and protect Venom. And then at the end, like her symbiote can run like very fast. Like it looked like the Flash, like the way she was running.
Oh,
And then
she was running next
and there's
to
a
the car
light.
or something. It looks so weird.
Well, that part too with
Or
the
the
other
motorcycle.
scientist lady. Yeah, she's running next to Eddie on the motorcycle, and it looks horrible. But I'm talking about the lightning lady where she bonds and she has like the dreads, like the Predator, and her symbiote can just run super fast, but it's like charged like lightning. It looks like the Flash, and I was like, "What is this?" And it heals her, so like I guess that's the payoff as she finally heals her lightning scar.
Yeah, really weird. Didn't care for it.
You know, and they did that like montage at the end
Oh yeah, the
after
sappy montage.
Venom, which Venom all of a sudden too, like these things are eating the other symbiotes and shredding them like a wood chipper, and Venom is able to absorb all of them and keep them
Yeah.
contained within his body.
Why didn't all the
And then
symbiotes
he's-
decide to do that?
When they could have even gotten a bigger body and contained more of them, and then he sacrifices himself. Acid apparently kills him at the end, whatever that was.
Yeah, it was like some kind of acid. Because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how are they going to beat these things? Because they got shredded by an airplane turbine. It reassembled. They shot it with a missile. They came back. So, and I. Oh,
Seemed
didn't
pretty
we laugh
unkillable to
when?
me.
Didn't we laugh when Captain Bad Guy died? He like blew up or something. Because he was there on the paddock to turn on the acid. Didn't he like blow up? I could have sworn it was like that. And then Daniel
Well,
and
he
I
was
were laughing.
stabbed, right? Didn't he? I think he was stabbed and died in the explosion.
Yeah, because then after they Venom's getting melted, somebody sets afire the whole like oil tank.
It was him.
Next to them. Oh, it was him. Yeah, it just blows up and he
Yeah,
just dies violently.
After getting stabbed, even though he was like the only logical person in the movie.
See, I thought Venom was going to heal him for a second, but then I was like, wait a minute, that would just create the whole problem again with the codex. But he didn't heal him.
He just picked him up so he could blow himself up with Venom.
You're coming with me.
Yeah. And then we can't also forget that hippie family
Oh God.
that kept reappearing. The hippie family is so annoying. So their whole thing is it's stereotypical hippie dad and mom, and then they have like two normal kids. And the dad like essentially sold everything and is just trying to get to Area 51 because that was one of the things they established in the beginning of the movie was Area 51 got decommissioned, so he was going there, taking his whole family with him in the stereotypical like 60s hippie van, like Scooby-Doo, and driving out to Area 51. What's that highway called? Extraterrestrial highway?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think so.
Just to see an alien before they, before they clean out the place. So whatever. But they were, but the dad was so annoying in that, and so is the mom. And like the only funny part with that family was that comment the daughter made when she was like, "Why have Child Protective Services not been called yet for us?" Like, and the dad was, and like Eddie looks at her, and then the dad was like, "Honey, please, seriously, stop." Like,
Well, it's just like
but
it's sad that this guy spent all of their money to get the van and then go see aliens. Not because, like, you remember, the only thing I can think of is Independence Day, where Randy Quaid, that crazy guy, he wants to see aliens because he said he was like kidnapped and probed by them. Like, wasn't that part of that movie? Like
He wanted
him,
revenge.
yeah, that makes sense. But in this one, like, they're crazy people.
and they only serve as a point just to get Eddie to Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would ever trust some sweaty stranger approaching you in the middle of the woods.
I mean, he made a lot of bad decisions as a father, so I don't think he's known for his great decision making.
I think Daniel said it would have been funnier if, like, the little girl says, like, he's not my real dad.
Oh yeah, because there was that scene, like it was supposed to be this like emotional scene, and that's something the movie kept doing, where it's like all this crazy stuff's happening, and then they would randomly take these beats in the movie where it was like trying to have some emotion to it, and it's like they're driving in the van,
Oh, like
and
when
everyone's
Venom
sleeping.
says, we
Yeah, and he's like,
we should have started a family.
yeah, you would have been a great father, and it's like, where's this coming from? Like, and then the kid wakes up and he like gives Eddie a thing, chocolate bar, and he's like asking him if aliens are real and stuff like that, and then Eddie's trying to like comfort the kid, and that's what I said. I was like, it would have been so funny if the kid just like nudges Eddie, and is like, please get us out of here. These aren't our real parents.
Please. I have no idea whether they just picked us up one day and they're holding us at gunpoint.
Yeah,
I
but
haven't seen my real parents in 2 weeks.
But
yeah,
speaking
that's
of Area 51, I want to say my only knowledge of it is from the raid of Area 51.
And
That's it.
Indiana Jones 4. They went to Area 51 in the beginning.
That's true too, but I think the Internet Historian video was funnier. The Naruto run, escaping, dodging the bullets.
They can't arrest all of us. Or they can't stop all of us, I think they said, for the storming of Area 51.
Yeah, that's when people even went to it, though.
yeah. And that, yeah, and then that guy brings they dropped off Eddie in Vegas. I was like, all right, end of this family, whatever. It served its purpose, I guess. And then they bring them back. And I think I don't know if you heard me, but I think when they brought the van back and they got into Area 51, I don't know if you heard me, Colin or Craig, but I just went, oh no.
I can't. I honestly don't remember.
I mean, well, Craig was sleeping, so I didn't. But
Yeah, Craig was like a zombie.
It's not good. Like, these movies aren't good. I don't care that your favorite character is Venom. Like, it's not good. You should want a better movie. You should want Venom to be Venom, not this weird, shoved into this box of being a hero because he has to be the hero of the story, even though he's really better as a villain.
This weird sweaty guy.
Or even if he is a hero, it's like like in the comics where he was forced to team up with Spider-Man to kill Carnage. It wasn't, like he was doing it really out of the goodness of his own heart. It was more out of survival, because Carnage was coming for him. But yeah, then they brought them back and they almost die, but then they get away, and I was like, it would have at least like the kids could have gotten away, but I was like the parents. I think it also would have been dark humor, but it would have been funny if the dad gets the family to finally see aliens, and then one of those creatures like sucks them up and shreds them like a wood chipper. Eddie's able to get the kids out, maybe the wife, but I don't know. The dad, I was like, he just, he's not necessarily real. He's not a good person in this. And they're trying to give him sympathetic when Eddie was like, before he leaves, the guy gives Eddie sandals, and he's like, "Hey, whatever your name is, like, I hope you find your alien." Like, I'm like, "What? What is this?" But yeah, the only enjoyable part was the Vegas when he knocks out. Well, the best is he tries to go into the casino, right, looking like a sweaty homeless guy, and the security guard's like, "Yeah, no, that's not happening." And then Venom just comes out and headbutts the dude. And the best part is they don't even take that guy's clothes. Then he finds the drunk guy, knocks him out and takes his clothes. And then the best is when he's walking away, he's like, Eddie turns to the cops that show up and he goes, "Yeah, the guy that knocked him out's over there in the alley." Like, he gets that guy arrested. And the Mrs. Chen, like, they see each other and like, "Oh, you look so good." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I got this dress here." And she's like, "You look so good." He goes, "Yeah, I got this off a guy knocked out for pissing on me." Mrs. Chen saving the movie as always.
She didn't save the movie. She was a bright
I mean,
spot. She didn't save it.
Yeah, like, let's dance, Eddie. And then even Eddie was like, "Where'd you learn how? When'd you guys practice this?" They're all synced together, like doing their dance moves.
And he even like lifts her up, like, too.
Yeah, as they're playing some like pop song.
What was it? I think they're playing was it Dancing Queen, right? Was that it?
Probably.
Again, I
Well-
guess for context for our viewers, it's sad that we're not remembering this because we saw this on a Saturday and this is a Tuesday right now.
Saturday during the day.
Yeah.
Because
And I'm having trouble
Which is
remembering
even-
what happened.
like I remember, but it's like it's not. I didn't like. I was not fully paying attention because it's not good. I mean,
Like,
there's no other way to say it.
I was
Like,
kinda
there's so much
checked out.
wasted time in this movie. You got wasted storylines,
Yeah.
pointless storylines.
But when we watch like the Fast X's and the Jurassic Worlds, like I remember so much more. And it definitely does help that we recorded as soon as we got back. But like those bad movies are just so offensively bad where I remember a lot more.
Well, they're so bad they're good.
Well, yeah, Fast X is just amazing.
This isn't bad and good. This is just bad. And then, like, at the end, like, they rush. Like, it seemed like they're rushing all of this. All this stuff's happening just for Venom to die, and then and then they have the montage at the end of like,
Straight out of a Hallmark movie.
yeah, and then he's like, then he's because the whole thing is Venom's like, I wanted to see Lady Liberty, and then at the end, Eddie's like looking out from a pier. He's like, "And I won't forget you, buddy," and then it ends. But
So did he go home immediately after he just said that one line? Like he traveled all the way to New York just to see Statue of
yeah,
Liberty?
because he
home.
got pardoned from the military.
Oh, I guess we forgot to mention that in the beginning, the police are
He's still a fugitive.
Yeah, they're saying that Eddie's a fugitive because they're linking him to the death of Captain Mulligan, even though he didn't die, and then his body is in Area 55.
Yeah. Which also, yeah, but they made him like he's a national fugitive, like he's a terrorist, like he's on the FBI's watch list. Like Homeland Security's coming for him.
Well, that's another scene I wanted to bring up too. That scene where they attack Eddie in the river. Why do they have these special suits that can chase Eddie in this like very tiny river? I mean, the depth is like 3 feet deep.
Well, it's almost like they knew that he was going to be in a river.
Against that part too.
Well, Colin and I were laughing because you see this like cargo plane coming over, and then you see all these guys like hanging on these strings at the bottom. It's like, are they just gonna like fly and shoot at him from these strings?
Honestly, that would make more sense than like having these special suits to go into the water to chase
why are
him.
you? Yeah, you're putting people out of their element against a symbiote. You've seen how dangerous the symbiotes are, and we're going to come at him with a squad of like 6 guys dropping into a river.
Yeah. We're going to get in close quarters with him.
Also,
Rather
they
than
had special guns that would remove the symbiote from Eddie that could neutralize it. They had that sonic gun.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just keep your distance?
Yeah, and subdue the symbiote.
And then they all fall down the waterfall, and then that thing attacks them and like kills most of the squad.
Well, the thing you're also forgetting is Eddie has a moment of like panic and what's the word I'm looking for? Regret when without Venom he just kills. I think it was a woman he killed too. Some some military person. He just like stabs them in the neck, kills them underwater. And then he just has like this out of place moment of regret. He's like, "Oh wow, I actually
Yeah,
really just did
it's
that."
like
Even though he is an accomplice and he is complicit with Venom eating people's heads.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either.
It just doesn't
like
make any
it's
sense.
funny because in the scene before in Mexico, like they go to the, I guess all these guys are like for these, this Mexican street gang had this. They were keeping all these dogs for like dog fighting, and he eats all their like he literally had them all lined up and ate all their heads in a row. That's what I mean. Is like they throw all these little like you're supposed to like have some emotion in this movie. It's like, come on, it's a Venom movie. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah, having an out of touch like scene of morality and taking innocent lives is Venom's not the vehicle to do that.
And then calling these creatures beautiful.
Yeah.
You see what they come from, the world that they come from. And we need to preserve them. I was like, well, then preserve the other ones you have contained in jars. You could just kill this guy, and you're good to go. When you see Toxin successfully bonded and contained, and had no, he had no motivation to get out. Toxin seemed like somewhat content being there.
It was funny that he was just like complying with the army guy. He was just like telling them everything, like he's an informant.
Yeah, they're paying him. It would be funny if they're like paying him in chocolate.
We'll give you salted chocolate this time if you're complicit. If you listen to us.
So I've got a question. Who
Yes.
voices Venom?
I think it's Tom Hardy. It's been
Tom
him the whole
Tom
time.
Hardy voices him.
Okay, because it doesn't anything like him. I guess that's good, but I was wondering who voiced Venom.
Yeah, no, Tom
It's
Hardy
always
came
been
up
him.
with the voice. Obviously, they use like a modifier a bit, but
Did you not know
Is that-
that, Craig?
No,
Oh wow. He did a good job, Craig.
I guess he did.
that'll learn you.
So, are there any positives besides the ones we mentioned? Like very early on, the very tiny.
Oh,
Very, very minuscule positives.
also that airplane scene was heavily teased through the trailers. Like they made it seem like it was going to be this big epic scene, and he like immediately gets the thing shredded.
Yeah, that happens in the beginning of the movie too, or at least like a good 20, 30 minutes in.
Let's say it's in
Also-
the first act.
Yeah.
So I think we can all pretty much agree this is the worst Venom movie, but which one would you say is the best? And by
I already told you. I think I'd rank them 2, 1, 3.
I feel like I agree, but it's hard to sit there and say like to rank these in any order because I don't think any of them are really all that good. I mean, I guess two's the best, but three's pretty bad, and one's not great either. It's hard to say that's like even the second best.
I I think the other two are just better by default.
But yeah, one got like a 10 out of 100, the other two, got like a 5 and a 3 on the test. So I guess by default, the
God.
10's the best. I'm not a big fan. It's not even like I don't like Venom. It's just, I don't think these are good movies. I just don't see the point in them existing.
Yeah,
Now people's-
we've been
I feel like-
hashing that since the very first review.
I just feel like because these are Venom movies, like the writers didn't care as much to try to make them actual good movies. Like I feel like it's like, oh, it's Venom. Like who, it's like almost like an excuse for them not to like actually try to make a better movie. That makes sense.
I just think part of the problem is like without Spider-Man, Eddie Brock's the dark, not to say a dark mirror, but you know what I mean. Like he's the villains are based off their heroes for a reason. Like they reflect negative aspects of them.
Venom Venom needs, and that's not, obviously Spider-Man is the best one, but the fact that you don't have anyone, like even some other,
The
maybe not as popular
Rhino.
hero, but the fact that you don't have like anyone who is like, truly good to counter Venom, it falls flat because Venom isn't good to begin with, and then you have people that are just worse than him. It's like, you're all bad, really.
Yeah,
But
because I mean, it's not
you
just this
you
movie
need
too, but
yeah.
there's been other movies, or I think Disney has these movies where they keep having movies about the villain, and their tragic backstory, blah 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 blah.
But
It's
the
like
thing is,
no one
they
cares.
don't even take time to like really show like Eddie's tragic backstory. They didn't even go into Venom's backstory. Really, it's just so it's a throwaway line of like, yeah, I was a loser on my planet.
Like,
How?
did Eddie even have a tragic backstory? Wasn't he just a
Well,
loser?
they met. Well, I mean, I know they. It was another throwaway line with in Carnage where he was like, "Oh, you're the
His
reason your
mom
mother
died in
died."
childbirth.
And your dad was, didn't, your dad hated you because of it. It's like, well, one, how do you know that? And the audience doesn't.
I think
Like,
they have like a library in that prison where he could see news clippings, like little newspapers, and he can
but
study.
but that's something for the
Like,
audience.
how would you know that, Carnage
Yeah, yeah.
or whatever, Cletus?
But how does he know that, but the audience doesn't? That's a problem. Like, that's something that you could develop more about Eddie. Instead of, you know, it's taking the time in Venom 2 to, do this, hate relationship Venom has for a guy that clearly is better for Eddie's ex and is actual like a normal guy.
He looks like he
You know,
showers.
just they replace his shirts when they get sweaty. But that's the main problem for Venom being the main character is that it doesn't necessarily. It's not only has to be Spider-Man, it's the fact that you don't have anyone of his power level to counter him in morality. Because again, Venom would be funnier if you have someone like Captain America or Spider-Man, someone who is truly good, and you have Venom who plays the moral. He plays the gray line. But it just falls flat when Venom's the best, and there's just people worse than him. And
I just don't like the humanizing of bad people, or they're trying to humanize, villains in classic stories. You know what I mean?
yeah, they,
Because I was, just browsing around. I saw they made Maleficent movies. The
they
villain
made
from was it Sleeping
they made
Beauty?
two. Yeah,
Who wants a Maleficent movie? She's like the evil witch. Who cares? Isn't there what's his name? The evil lion? Is it Scar?
from Lion King.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a prequel coming out.
Who wants a Scar movie besides like furries?
well,
You're
the
asking
whole
the wrong
the
people. I don't know.
well, that's what made Scar
Oh,
great
no,
is he was
no,
just
no. I'm saying like
I
hypothetically.
know, rhetorical question.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's like
rhetorically.
but again, like that's what made Scar great. Is he was just evil. He just wanted power. Like you don't need to
Well, like that classic trope
humanize
of like
them.
the jealous. I don't know what the relationship like
I think
younger
they're
brother, step
brothers.
brother,
Yeah,
jealous
yeah.
of the
No, they
noble
were
king.
brothers. Yeah,
I mean, isn't
yeah.
that based off some Shakespeare play or like some classic story, The Lion King?
No, I think it's
It's like
based
Macbeth
off
or something.
of. I think it was a Chinese or a Japanese thing. It's like I think it was originally called like Kimbo the Lion or something. No, I'm serious. I don't think that was the original name, but hold on. Was
Yeah.
it
Well, they're
based?
saying
Well,
I quickly
I
looked
got
into it. It said Hamlet.
Was it based on him? Oh, but there's something else too that it was based off of. But the lion was like white in the book or whatever the
so
source
they
material
took the
was.
plot from essentially Hamlet and then the characters from the Chinese thing.
Otherwise, I'm going to sound like a babbling fool if I'm wrong, and I have to find this now.
Well, just real quick, when
But
you said Chinese or Japanese, there's this joke in King of the Hill where the character from Laos, because the people in the show are supposed to be ignorant, and they go, "Where are you from? China or Japan?" And he goes, "I'm from Laos," and they don't know where Laos is. They go, "Is that China or Japan?"
What
so I
is
guess
that?
Craig, based off that, you don't want to see Wicked.
No, I saw that play in school.
I
Lucky
just
I saw the newsies.
I always think of the way South Park summarized Wicked with the Broadway Bro Down episode. It's like, oh, what was the play about? I don't know, about some green chick and a goat.
The hell
Okay, I
episode
can't
was
find
great.
anything. I'm gonna keep looking real quick.
Spider-Man. Good thing we're talking about Spider-Man, sort of.
Kimba, I think it was. What was it called?
I think you're right. I think it was
Kimba the White
Kimba.
Lion. I think that's what it was. Japanese. Okay, I think that's what some people said it was based off of too. Okay, I don't feel like a delusional,
I just remember like what
crazy
Craig said, it
person.
being based off like some Shakespearean work. But well, now I know. Hey, well, with this information, Colin, I'm still not going to see the new Lion King movie.
Yeah,
So
Neither am I.
I still didn't see the live action one.
Neither did
live
I.
action. Gotta stop calling it that.
Craig, those were real lions, okay?
Well, real quick, did you guys see that Wicked's going to be in two parts?
How? How are there two parts of this movie? It's already a play that's made up based off the original book. It's made up, right?
I don't know.
Let me fact check
I think so.
myself.
It is. I think it's the runtime for the first one is. It says 160 minutes. So, oh boy, next year would be Wicked Part Two.
Um, it's a loose adaptation of the 1995 novel Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West.
So it's made up.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's made up off of the of Wizard of Oz.
It's a book that
It's a
came out
book.
95 years later.
Yeah, so it's not a real sequel.
Was that the downfall? Was that the start of humanizing villains?
I don't understand. I think it's a very subversive what they're doing. Like trying to tell all this person's not just like some people are just evil. It's okay to tell a story like that. You don't have to have this all. They gotta tell their tragic backstory. They're really misunderstood.
Some people are just evil and they like being evil and they get a kick out of it.
I don't name any names, but I mean, we know some guy who's probably evil in the news. He's a Mets fan. It's Diddy.
Oh, he's a Mets fan? Oh, I had no idea. I was like, what are you talking about?
I was
I
trying to be
think
vague, but I was like, let's just say Diddy.
I'm sure throughout one of our episodes, I always mention that, like, I think it would be great if there's just a villain who was just unabashedly evil. Like, they don't even
You
try
should
to
see
sim.
Puss in Boots too.
Well, yeah, I know that, but I think that's what we should go for. Like, you don't have to sympathize them. I guess you could just understand maybe why they're doing what they're doing, but just leave it at that. Don't make him like, oh, well, he was beaten up as a child with a broom or something. No, just make him evil. It's
Like,
better if he's just crazy and he just wants to do damage.
It's a better counterpart to the good guy. Just
I can understand in some instances where maybe you want maybe a more sympathetic villain because
well, you
in
think
some
of like
stories,
I was
you're
gonna
gonna say
say,
Lord of the Rings.
well, I was gonna say Thanos, right? The whole thing with Thanos is you're not supposed to like sympathize or empathize with him. You're just supposed to see his, why he's doing what he's doing. It doesn't mean that it's justified, right? Like he's like they called me a madman. Like his solution was genocide. Like it's not necessarily you're meant to be like, oh, Thanos is really the hero. It's just It's just a way of showing like he's doing. He's this is why he's doing what he's doing. It's not necessarily right, but it's just he's doing it.
I mean, there were a lot of people who agreed with Thanos and were making posts about Thanos.
That's but what you're gonna say with Lord of the Rings?
Oh well, like Gollum's the sympathetic villain. He's one that you kind of feel bad for, but there's no sympathy for Sauron or Morgoth. I mean, they're literally the devil analog. They're not supposed to be, sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to mention that too. Imagine, trying to make Morgoth sympathetic.
I mean, they were trying to do that with Rings of Power, not to derail this too much.
Yeah,
Well,
this
that's
isn't
because
your other Lord of the Rings video, Craig.
Well, that's because Craig Sauron is a sexy elf. That's why.
Okay, all right. Let's get back to Venom.
Galadriel just can't
All
resist.
right, Craig,
Even if
shut
she's
up.
married.
He's hot.
Oh no, he's hot.
But
How are you doing?
Yeah,
Oh wait, one more thing. I think the official Rings of Power they released a
No.
tweet says, "How are we doing, Haladriel Bros?" or
Craig,
something like
stop.
oh god,
that.
Galadriel Bros. Oh,
Craig, stop.
Haladriel Bros. Oh no.
Okay, so let's go back to Venom. Do you want to give any final thoughts to Venom?
I kind of like this conversation. It's more entertaining than this movie.
I guess that's a good summary. Craig, what are your final thoughts on Venom: The Last Dance?
Are we sure I've seen this movie?
I mean, maybe you can fall asleep with your eyes open because I know you're awake when we're watching it.
I fall. Is that a SpongeBob character who fell asleep with his eyes open?
I can't remember.
Yeah, obviously I didn't like it. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not worth my time.
I didn't like it either. I don't think it was very good. It's the worst Venom movie, which is not really a high bar, but here we are, I guess. Now, with all of that being said,
Wait, I got one more thing.
what?
So apparently the director, writer, whoever is in charge of the SSU is saying that they're expecting Null to appear again in more movies. So he's, it's the last you see of him. Probably will be because the
Wonderful
universe is
news.
What team are they assembling to stop him?
I have no idea.
Are they
I
gonna
mean,
bring?
this is all
Wait,
just corporate talk.
are they going to bring back Morbius?
Never say never.
Madam Web, Morbius, Craven, Rhino,
just did.
and Venom.
They also have a Spider-Man noir TV show coming out.
Yeah, we saw photos of that.
With Nicolas Cage.
In the cage. All right, now, with all of that being said, this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. Colin?
I'm Craig.
Then I'm Daniel.
And we don't know what the episode's going to be, but we'll see you next week.